Have you ever watched that show, Carol and the End of the World, on Netflix? It's actually such a really interesting and fascinating show for so many different reasons. If you don't know what it's about or if you haven't watched it, in the first few episodes that you watch, it could be perceived as a little bit strange and awkward, but essentially it's about a setting where it's the apocalypse and the end of the world is literally in a few months. And everybody, as you would expect, is doing all of the things that they would love to do on their last few days of life. So everyone's being very adventurous and ambitious. And then there's Carol, who doesn't have the urge to do any of that. And she is just trying to get through her days, trying to find some sense of normalcy in her life, and also a little bit of self discovery as well. And the reason that I am bringing up that show is because the quote that I'm using for today's episode is from Carol and the End of the World. So here it is.
There isn't a single person out there who doesn't have it. The hunger to do more, be more, live more. We all have it.
So not the typical quote that you'd really expect. I suppose not something super inspirational or insightful. But I decided to choose this quote today because it fully encapsulates or sets the floor for what we're supposed to be talking about today, the dichotomy between the pursuit of ambition and the mundanity of life. So there's nothing wrong with the quote that we got from the show. It's true that hunger drives humanity forward. It has created evolution and growth, and it's what pushes us to advance, right? But it also raises questions of when do you stop striving and when do you start appreciating what we already have? Where is the balance between the pursuit of ambition and appreciating what's already there in life? So everyone kind of has at least a vague understanding of what ambition is. It can be a very powerful force. It's the urge to achieve something or do something great or do exciting things, as we saw in the show. Well, that's only if you've watched the show, but there's all these people doing all of these adventurous activities and wanting to strive to do so much more with their life. That is what the essence of ambition is. And it doesn't have to be something incredible like skydiving or traveling the world. It could just be the pursuit of fame, the pursuit of money, the pursuit of some big experience, maybe power, maybe, getting a promotion or achieving some sort of goal. It's achieving something. And everyone has at least a little bit experienced some sort of ambition in some form, whether that's pursuing your bucket list of dreams or something like that. You've all experienced some sort of ambition. But the reality is, you can't live every second of your life or even every day of your life fueled by ambition. Some days are inevitably going to be basic or boring or mundane. Some days you may just go to the supermarket or wash the dishes or go to your daily job or do the exact same morning and night routine that you've done for months or for years. The mundanity is an inevitable part of life, and it's the part of life that is essential to our existence. Those simple everyday activities that don't necessarily thrill us, but literally continue our lives. And I think we tend to dismiss these moments as unimportant or unfulfilling or just not as enriching as we would want them to be. So we don't really value those moments in the ways that we maybe should. And it's become very normalized and a very human experience to yearn for more constantly. But why? Why do we chase ambition relentlessly? We have this like never-ending search for probably what it is a never-ending search for happiness that many can't really find when you think about the mundanity of life. When you think about those everyday daily activities that we're constantly doing, it doesn't give us that satisfaction and that life fulfillment that we're constantly looking for. Hence the never-ending push for ambition in whatever shape or form that may be. And don't get me wrong, it's absolutely perfectly fine to strive for more. It's what led humans to evolve, and it's what led us to have all of these amazing things. But it is crucial to find balance between the strive for more, that ambition, and the content with what you already have in your life. Because if not, then the question arises once again, when do we stop searching for that happiness? When do we stop yearning for more and more and more? And one of the things that really interested me about Carol and the End of the World is because in that show, the lead character, Carol, of course, she had the ability to have a total appreciation for the mundanity of life. She even yearned for it. Well, for her, it was a sense of normalcy, but on another level, it was just the simplicity of life, those normal everyday activities that we tend to overlook or see as mundane. And what's most interesting about all of it is that she had a total satisfaction with that mundane, and fulfillment in that, in a world of constant and rampant aggressive ambition that was just surrounding her. In a way, she had already figured out, even on a subconscious level, how to find fulfillment in the mundane. She had already figured it out. She knew. I feel like there's so many times in which we overlook those simple moments that need to be appreciated more so that we can find fulfillment in life without having that constant yearn for more all the time. So there were a few lessons that I learned from not only her, but also other characters in the show on how to get that fulfillment in the mundanity of life. So the first lesson that really stuck with me was gratitude. And I think that is one that I've even learned in my life personally before even watching the show, but the show was a good reminder that you really need to like cultivate a habit of gratitude. And I know that probably sounds so annoying because it's like everybody is always telling you, oh, you need to be grateful. Like you need to be grateful for the things in your life and just have so much gratitude. And I know it sounds so cliche and annoying, but it really does help to just each day take a moment to appreciate the simple little things, maybe like, a cup of coffee or tea or, a kind word from somebody or a pretty sunset or, your regular everyday morning routine or the drive to work or something. Those things actually make a difference. There were times in the show where just them going to a printer or scanning something, like an everyday task that you might do at a desk job, was so enriching for them in a non-depressing way. It was like it's appreciation for that. It's very much akin to that trend that happened a while back about romanticizing your life. Do you like remember that trend where everybody was trying to romanticize every single aspect of their life? It got to a point where it's a bit annoying, but it does have some merit to it. Just taking in everything in your life and appreciating it for what it is and just being fulfilled in that. There's something beautiful about that, and that is something that we should be grateful for. The second lesson that really resonated with me is also mindfulness, just practicing being present in the moment. And that's also another cliche, I know that, but I just want to like truly look into it and understand it. So whether you're, I don't know, washing the dishes or taking a walk, try to pay attention to the sights and the sounds and everything around you, just every little aspect around you. It's like paying attention to the five senses and the sensations of everything, because that can kind of transform a mundane task like washing the dishes or driving or walking or something into moments of peace and contentment and even clarity. Sometimes you find yourself and you find peace, just overall peace in those moments when you are really truly present. And I think mindfulness can also be taken out of just the mundane aspects of life, just add it to every aspect of your life. Even if you're doing something amazing, it can enrich that moment even more. If you're at a stellar party or something, just try to take a minute to take in everything around you instead of, thinking about, I don't know, how this is going to feel in the morning or, the future of it or the past of something. or taking videos for Instagram or something like that, just actually placing yourself exactly where you are mentally and appreciating it and just being as present as possible. And I think when you practice that mindfulness, it kind of gives you a sense of purpose in your life as well, in a weird way, because you're more hyper aware now of everything that you're doing in life on a daily basis. And then you ultimately start to appreciate them more. Like, for example, which I guess also happened in the show as well, if you come every day to your boring job, which you kind of hate and it's kind of like draining you, but you try with every ounce of you to appreciate it a little more, to focus on the little things, even in your day, just your day, the little things, even as small as it could be, that were good, that actually was a nice experience, whether it's a conversation with a colleague or whether it's helping somebody with a task that they were struggling with, or whether it's you saw something funny or you saw something that made you smile, those different things, those little things are the parts where gratitude comes in, the part where mindfulness comes in. Those are the things to appreciate. And then it makes you feel more fulfilled. And it makes you feel like you have more of a purpose in this life, which helps you appreciate the mundane aspects of life more, if you get what I'm saying. And it also takes me into the most impactful lesson that I learned from Carol and the End of the World on how to appreciate the mundanity of life without constantly seeking ambition. It's kind of like the most powerful key to happiness. It's connection. Building meaningful connections with other people makes everything more fulfilling. And then if you connect connection to all of those other previous lessons we just talked about, it's like you're set. It's almost like things just kind of get better in a way. And the funny thing about connection is it happens so subtly and it happens in such an interesting way. So one of the things that I noticed in the show, which is I think one of the most wholesome parts of the show, is that just engaging in genuine conversations, maybe sharing experiences and supporting one another, that is literally the key to connection and the key to just making meaningful experiences with other human beings. And then connection can become contagious. It's like once you start the ball rolling and you make somebody else comfortable and you make somebody else connected to you and vice versa, then you start connecting to other people or you gain connections through them. And not just in like a networking sense, but in an emotional and enriching and fulfilling sense. Connection, specifically human connection, can bring depth and fulfillment to even the most ordinary moments of life, whether it's going to a coffee shop and just talking to your waitress or your barista, just asking them how their day is or something, or telling them something interesting. Or if it's going to your regular job where everybody is kind of like keeping to themselves and you help somebody with something, or you remember something interesting about someone and make them feel good about themselves, that can enrich people's lives and then ultimately enrich your own. And that really set in for me in the last episode of the show. It's called The Investigation, where everybody had become so connected to each other over time. And we're sharing emotions, sharing experiences, becoming close, becoming friends. And all of these were people who were struggling to find fulfillment and happiness and meaning in their lives. And they just got it from each other through the most powerful aspect, which is connection with other people. And also through mindfulness, gratitude, all of these things. And now their lives were just ultimately better. And they didn't even need to be constantly looking to have some amazing, great experience or achieve something super huge or, some live extremely ambitiously. They didn't need that because they were fine with exactly what they had right in front of them. And I was dabbling between which quote to choose when I was picking this episode, because there's the quote that I had showed at the beginning of the episode, but then there's this also what I would say an honorable mention quote, which came from one of the characters in the show. She was actually an HR rep who was investigating why everybody was acting so differently at work. And she essentially said, "When your name is spoken, a type of intimacy is created. You're no longer a stranger or a coworker. You're an acquaintance with the possibility of more." And I think that's such a beautiful quote. That's such a beautiful realization because it's so true. And it makes me think, okay, what fuels connection between humans? And who knows, maybe it could be a future episode. We'll see. But I also don't want to make it seem like I'm saying to just abandon ambition because that's ridiculous. Ambition is literally what fueled human evolution. There does need to be, however, a balance between the appreciation of the mundane and the pursuit of ambition. There needs to be some sort of balance between that, or else we will just be in a never ending pursuit of happiness or a never ending sense of despair. And to achieve that balance, I think it ultimately requires you to know when to push forward and when to be ambitious and when to appreciate what's in front of you. Both of those things have a place in our lives, not just one or the other. So ambition is great because it enriches your life, it makes it exciting, it creates growth, it pushes you forward. But if it's managed not properly, then it can also lead to burnout, it can lead to stress, just perpetual dissatisfaction with your life, constantly yearning for more, as we said. But then that's when the appreciation of the mundane comes in. It's a necessary balance, a necessary, balancing agent to ambition because it can be very grounding and can give you a sense of peace and contentment with what you already have. But it's easier said than done to just say, oh, okay, we need to find balance between those two. Okay, obviously, duh, but how do you do that? Like it's not like you can just snap your fingers and be totally balanced and perfect. So when I was doing some research, because I am not an expert, I give very unsolicited, unprofessional advice. So when I was doing research, these are the strategies for finding that balance that I thought would help myself and also to help you possibly. So the first one would be checking in regularly with yourself to assess your emotional needs and any signs of burnout or stress. I think this is a really important one because I am extremely guilty of constantly going. I tend to have a sense of ambition, not in the sense that I want to achieve fame, power, money, or whatever, but in the sense that I need to be the best at what I'm doing and give what I'm doing my all. I can't half-ass anything. I just need to do and put my all into everything that I'm doing, which causes me to not take breaks when I'm working or to work for long extended periods of time and to constantly be thinking about work and constantly put off things like rest and relaxation or eating or stuff like that. Not like in an eating disorder kind of way, but just, like I would go for long periods of time throughout the day before I actually eat something because I'm so engrossed in my work. And that's not good because it really does lead to burnout, even though you're fulfilled. Well, I'll speak for myself, even though I'm fulfilled by what I'm doing and passionate about the work that I'm doing, I still get burnt out if I don't take the breaks and the necessary precautions to make sure that my emotional and mental state is intact. And then I get ultimately very stressed out very easily. I think the people that are close to me can very much attest to that I am very easily stressed out. So checking in regularly with yourself to make sure that that sense of ambition is not swallowing you can really give you a sense of balance and kind of a signal to tell you, okay, maybe take it easy and maybe just appreciate where you are right now in life and appreciate what's around you and be good with exactly what you have right now because you're fine, everything's fine, and you do not need to be this amazing, incredible, stunning, absolutely all-powerful person or achieve all of these all-powerful, amazing, beautiful, great, incredible things right now. Like you don't need to do that all right now. It'll come in time, or maybe you're already good as you are and you should appreciate that. And then another one that I am very guilty of not following, setting boundaries between work and personal life. That ties perfectly into the last one. I do not set boundaries between my work and personal life at all, but I definitely need to work on getting better at that. And I know a lot of people struggle with the same thing. I kind of take a lot of guidance from my stepdad because he is very stringent about his boundaries between his work and personal life. For example, when he gets home like from work, or he's finished working for the day, he literally puts his phone on like the windowsill and just doesn't touch it kind of for like the rest of the night unless he absolutely needs to, which in my mind is like absolutely insane. But I guess I'm I'm definitely a little more attached to my phone and my work and everything than him, which is why it's so easy for him. And then also, like on weekends and stuff, his work cannot contact him because that's personal time. When 5 o'clock hits and the work day's done, that's personal time. And I'm doing my own thing with my family, with my friends, whatever, for myself. And I do not let the bounds of work and personal life overlap to an unhealthy amount. And I am terrible at finding that balance, but I'm trying to be more mindful of it and be more deliberate in finding that boundary, because everybody talks about it, but sometimes you need to actually like deliberately do it. And then the last one would be just following the same lessons that we talked about from before. Being mindful, having gratitude, trying to create connections with other people. One of the things I would advise is sometimes it can be really daunting to do those things. For me, it can be daunting on the connection aspect because I can be a very nervous, shy, anxious person. So it's hard for me to connect with people or initiate connections with people. But I think my goal right now, because one of the ways to help is just setting small goals as well. Just my small goal of maybe trying to talk to somebody in a cafe, or maybe asking somebody for directions or something like that. Those small goals can help enrich your life and fulfill your life and make you feel more appreciative of the small things in life as well. Because it can be very daunting to go into things that are ultimately out of your comfort zone. But that is also another topic I will save for another episode. So as we wrap up today's episode, I want to challenge you to reflect on your own life. Like, just look into your own life and assess, where do you find yourself chasing ambition constantly? Where do you maybe overlook the simple joys of life or the simple joys of the mundane? How can you bring more balance between those two? Maybe with the advice that you found with me today, or maybe you can share some advice with me. I'm so open to hearing advice from others. I absolutely love that. So please feel free to share. And just, remember that it's really important to try and find harmony between ambition and contentment and the mundane. And ultimately, that will lead to a richer and more fulfilling experience in life without you feeling like you constantly have to be striving for more and nothing is ever good enough. So with that, we have come to the end of this episode, guys. Thank you so much for listening. This is really fun and I really enjoy chatting with you guys every week. If you really enjoyed, please leave a review on this episode on whatever platform you're listening to it on. Follow the episode if you want to see more. And if you're curious about either myself or the podcast, please check out the podcast socials, which would be on Instagram and TikTok at the Notes and Quotes Pod, on YouTube at the Notes and Quotes Podcast. And then there's also, for more of me, check out my Instagram at Naomi A. Cambridge on Instagram, and you will find me. You can stalk me, go right ahead. I feel free to. I stalk other people as well, so please don't feel bad for stalking me. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening, guys. I will see you next week.